welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I have some fun crafts for you today. I have a sweet friend who will be joining me. I'll explain those details a little bit later. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we'll be working on some rustic Christmas home decor. We're going to take one quilt, make 3 projects. So let's get started with project number 1. So this is the quilt I found at a Christmas show. It's actually one that is, commercially made, but it's got like hand stitching on it as well, and it is very old because the stuffing is all broken up inside and everything, but I love the color of this. So what I'm going to start with first is we're going to make a pillow, of course, and this is some upholstery fabric I found at Hobby Lobby. It was actually on clearance, and I love the texture of it. And it was about $11, which might sound like a lot, but when it was normally around $30, pretty good. And I was actually going in for this fabric. I'm going to make 2 pillows, just one off camera. And this was down to clearance for $9 a yard. So very beautiful. And then, I'm like, hey, there's clearance. So then I found this beautiful brown upholstery fabric. It was down to $7 a yard. I'll be using this with our pillow today. So let's get started first. Our pillow is 18 by 18, nice and easy. I will have a free printable for you. I know it's just triangles and little, tree stumps, but a lot of times the printable pattern is easy for you. Link to my blog will be in the description box. This first tree is about 12 inches high and about 6.5 at the widest width. All 3 trees are different. The middle-sized tree is, we'll just say, about 10 inches tall and about 5.5 at the widest width. And then the smallest tree is about 9 inches tall and then about 5 inches at the widest width. Now my tree stumps are 2 different sizes. This is kind of just a little bit more narrow. And then the other one is a little bit more fat. You can use one or the other or both. I'm going to use both because I thought the narrow ones went in a little bit better kind of with the smaller size tree. I meant to make them a lot more, different, but they kind of look the same anyway. But you'll get both on the pattern. So I'm just cutting 2 pieces of this fabric because I want it to be a little bit thicker for each tree stump. I know I could add batting in the center of them, but, just 2 pieces of fabric is good enough. And then for the trees, I'll go ahead and cut them off camera because I have to lay the quilt out really big so I can get to the colors I want to. All right, so the next frame, here we go. They are all cut out and ready to go. These are the colors I went with. Now, I did choose to use a little bit of this polyester batting. I know a lot of times I use the cotton batting. You can use either or. This was just within reach, and it's just really, really thin because, like I said earlier, the quilt is so old, the batting in the middle is like, it's kind of like shredded inside. So I just wanted it a tiny bit thicker, and this polyester batting you can kind of tear apart. So here's the difference. This is what I usually use with you guys. This is the cotton batting. Get it at Walmart, is most inexpensive. Buy a bag or the roll. And then this is the polyester batting. You can usually buy it by a yard or bag. I think I got mine at Joann's, but so you can tear it apart nice and easy. So that's what I did. So placement of the trees. The middle tree is going to go about 1.5 inches from the bottom. All right. The medium tree is going to go about 3 inches up from the bottom. And the smallest tree is going to go about 4.5 inches up from the bottom. And of course you want to center it side to side, and I'll center it at the bottom here about 1.5 inches each side to look a little centered. Now, since these are layered, whether you glue or sew, you want to start with the tree trunks or stumps, whatever you want to call them, trunks actually, first, then go to these back trees, glue them down, or of course sew them, and then you're going to go to the top tree since it lays on top of everything. Okay, so right now I'm just kind of spot gluing my 2 pieces of fabric together and then gluing the trunk just a little bit onto the fabric. It's easier. I don't have to sit and pin it, easier to sew it. And now, of course, I just kind of pin the top of the trees, and I'm going to fold them up to keep them out of the way so I can sew those trunks on first. And I was originally just going to, I'll show you on this one, just straight stitch around each one. And I thought, well, how cute if I straight stitch and then go back over it and not do it evenly with a cute zigzag stitch. So I'm straight stitching here first. And then I'm going to change my machine, this is it, to the zigzag stitch and the stitch length that I want. And then I'm just going to zigzag over. I'm not trying to be perfect on the straight lines. I'm actually intentionally going off, and then I even later will add even more like intentional zigzags on the pattern. This is going to be a little bit hard to see. Well, no, you can see it pretty good. So there's that, what it looks like now. And now I'm going to go ahead and go to the 2 furthest back trees, pin them in, and I'm going to do, and of course pin the top tree out of the way. And again, I'm going to do a straight stitch around. If you're a gluer, glue those on. I'm going to do a straight stitch around. Now, if you're a gluer and you want to add some fun stitching, you can glue those on and then go in with hand stitching, like with some crochet thread, and do some fun kind of, you know, sewing stitches and make it really cute if you want. So here's the straight stitch first, and then I will come in with the zigzag stitch, changing it over. Sorry, it's a little blurry. I don't know, my camera chooses, you know, cameras, they choose to focus on what they're going to focus on. And then, like I said, later I'll come back in and I will intentionally add even more zigzag stitching, but I'll show you that. I don't think I finished that thought earlier. All right, so now I'm going to go to the top tree. If you're a gluer, glue that on. Do your hand stitching if you want. I'm going to just sew it off camera. Here it is. You can see how the stitching is not neat or anything like that. But I love how it turned out. It just gives it a little bit of character. And now, here's where I went in a little bit later. See how I went in like above the other stitching? Just a few, you know, 2 or 3 spots around each tree just to add some fun whimsicalness to it. Now, I know that my trees were centered. They don't look centered now. They look a little off skew, but I think it gives it a fun country primitive look. Now, I'm going to go around my pillow to sew it together, but I'm going to leave the outer edges out because my tree is all out. So if you're a gluer, you're going to go 3 sides right between the 2 fabrics near the edge, 3 sides, and then your last side, wherever you want on your pillow, about 3/4, and then you're going to leave a little opening for stuffing. And if you're a sewer, of course, you're going to do that all the way around. I'm going to do mine off camera. I'm going to also do it in the black thread, since I did black thread with the stitching to kind of make it all look cohesive. Here's the next frame, and here it is. Still got the pins in, see? Sewn all the way around. And then, of course, now I'm going to stuff it, and I'll do that off camera. So once you stuff it as full as you want it, if you're a gluer, then, of course, you'll go ahead and glue that opening closed. And if you're a sewer, you'll sew it closed. And then the next scene, it's miraculously done. And here it is. I love the way it looks, especially with the texture of that fabric. And now you could leave it like this, but, you know, I want to just kind of finish it off a little bit. So I have a strip of ripped fabric here. It's probably about 1.5 inches, probably about 30 inches long. I sewed around it as well. You can see it better here on the back side with the black fabric so that it kind of fits in. I'm just going to tie it into a bow. It's kind of nice stiff fabric, so it should hold its shape well. Hope it shape well. All right, and I'm going to put it up a little far on the tree. I'm going to use one of these big buttons. You get a package of them at Hobby Lobby for 99 cents. I'm going to bring in my Distress Oxide ink and Vintage Photo, mainly just kind of inking around the edge of that raised area on the inside, because the ink will kind of gather and collect right there, and it just kind of gives it a little bit of a rustic, dingy look. Totally optional. Of course, changes the shade just a little bit, and then I'm going to add some twine through all the holes, and then just kind of tie it in a knot on the back and cut off the excess. Do love how this turned out. I just think it's so super cute. Right, and then I'm going to just glue the bow on with Fabri-Tac. Nice ample amount of glue. And then the tails, this right side I left long because it's kind of going to go longer than the left side. It's going to go more off to the right here, as you see, and I'm just kind of wrinkling and crinkling the tail and gluing it in areas. And then the left side, the tail's a little bit shorter because I don't have as much room, but still going to wrinkle and crinkle it. I think it looks cute like that. Again, the fabric's heavy enough, it should hold its shape well. I'm going to go ahead and glue this button on right in the center. I'm going to hold it down for a bit, and that makes this project complete. We'll take a look at the results at the end of the video. Now, as promised, I am teaming up with my friend Tracy, who is Country Charm by Tracy. I promised you a little bit more information. I will have a link down in the description box to her video and her channel, where she's going to bring you lots of rustic country Christmas inspiration as well. I'm sure you all know her, but make sure you go check out her video. If you don't know her, I'm sure you will subscribe to her channel right away. I love, love, love her style. You will love it too. Thank you, Tracy, for collaborating with me today. You are sweet and always on my heart and in my prayers. With that said, let's move on to project number 2. For this project, again, I will have a pattern for you on my blog, link in the description box. And now this pattern and the pattern to the next project will all be on the same page. Now these are just hand-drawn, whimsical-looking light bulbs. You can pick both shapes, either shape, and I did make them a little bit fatter for you on the pattern because when I sewed them, they kind of went a little bit skinny. They look okay here cut out. I used both light bulbs, and then I cut out 7 patterns, 2 pieces of fabric for each one from the quilt. Remember, we're using the quilt for all the projects. And you're going to glue or sew around it, leaving the top open to stuff it. So if you're glue, you're going to go between the 2 fabrics at the edge, right up there. Put your 2 pieces of fabric together, leaving that top open, like I said, for stuffing. Sewing it, here I am, just using my sewing machine and sewing it. I love how these turned out, but again, like I said, they kind of look skinny, almost like they were a chili pepper versus a light bulb. So hopefully the pattern's a little better. I made it about a 1/2 inch, maybe a little bit more fatter all the way around on the bulb part. So yeah, but it is cute. I like how it turned out. Once you've got all of these sewn, you're just going to stuff it. Stuff your light bulbs as thick as you want or as much as the light bulb will handle, all the way up to the top, okay? You're just going to stuff it all the way to the top. And I've got a little clip on there because I had to tack the fabric down a little bit. And then now I've got a piece of wire. It's probably about 5 inches long, just a little skinny piece of wire. I'm going to just bend it right at the center. And then down at the bottom, probably about 1 inch. See, I'm going to just bend it, cross it over there, leaving a nice little loop, and then I'm going to twist the remaining, inch or so of wire, and then I'll add some glue on that twisty part. Yes, you can use hot glue, and I'll put it at the top of my light bulb. Now, when you put this in, make sure that your wire, your loop is sideways, okay? Because that way it can slide onto a tree, all right? You want it, see how your loop is sideways, all right? And then I'm going to glue the rest of the top closed because you're not really going to see it anyway. Now I've got a really just long piece of twine. I folded it in half to find the middle. You can do this however you want, and I'm going to add glue on the front and back of the top part of the light bulb, right? And I'm going to take the center on the back side in the glue, and I'm going to get a lot of glue on my fingers, and I'm going to do wraps a couple of times with one side of the twine, and then I'll come back over and wrap again with the other side of the twine. And the reason I'm doing it this way is to try to keep both sides even enough so that when I'm done wrapping and I end up on the front of my light bulb, they're both about the same length. All right, and then I have enough room to make a bow. So I'm going to tie like a little half knot here, all right? And then I'm going to add a little jingle bell on the right side of my twine tail, and then I'll tie that little bow. If you put it on the right side, right near your half loop, that bell will end up right up in the center of your bow, and then I'm going to just kind of glue that bow down a little bit. So hopefully that's understandable. And then, of course, I've got all the rest done. So here's 7 of them. And as you can see, I alternated colors. So I have 4 that are colored and 3 that are kind of that, nice beigey color. I'm going to use some rusty stars. You can get these at Hobby Lobby. Strangely enough, in the mini ornament section, I've got some cinnamon sticks that I broke in half. They're probably 3 inches, 2-3 inches. I'm going to use some red and cream twine. And I usually use a lot of different trims, but I end up just using the checkered one. All right, now you could use, this is thick diameter twine I get at Walmart. You could use that. Usually when I use a twine or rope, I love to couple it with pom-pom trim when I'm doing garlands because I think it's really, cute. I'm going to use this rope I picked up at Walmart in the Christmas section this year. And like I said, couple it with the pom-pom trim. All right, but let's go to our light bulbs for a minute. So I found this kind of cream looking glitter at Hobby Lobby. I love it because I don't love iridescent glitter. This is cream looking. I'm going to use some spray adhesive, and then I've got, this is cinnamon and salt mixture with a little bit of glitter in it, but I'm going to add some more glitter to it. All right, it's a chunky salt, like a coarse salt you can get at Dollar Tree, really chunky, and so that's what makes that, looks like chunky sugar in there, but it's just cinnamon and salt and then the glitter. Okay, so friendly for no little pests coming around. Spray a little spray adhesive where I want it, and then sprinkle some of the mixture on top. Tap it over, of course, dump off the excess. This is what it looks like. I think I just do 1 or 2 more here, but I just think it gives it a little something. It goes in with the cinnamon sticks and the rusty stars and kind of gives us that little bit, kind of a primitive rustic look. I guess I'm kind of adding a little primitive in it today. I might have to change my title. Maybe it's already there by the time you're watching this video. Maybe it's rustic primitive today. Adding a little bit more of this, And then we'll move on to our next step. Love how these turned out. All right, so my rope's probably about 64 inches long or so. I tend to go a little over 5 feet so. And then my pom-pom trim, it's probably about 54 inches. I don't need as long as the rope. So I usually on each end, I take about 9 or 10 inches of rope or twine at the end so that I can put it together and make my loop. And then the pom-pom, the reason I don't need it as long is because I only put about a inch or so into the bottom part of that loop, and then I tie the rope or twine around that pom-pom trim. When you pull your knot really tight, it will hold that pom-pom trim in. And the reason I don't make it as long as the twine is because the pom-pom trim is only about 3 yards. And usually if you cut it directly in half, you can get 2 garlands out of the pom-pom trim. All right, so I've got the one loop or knot at one end of our garland. And now I'm just sliding all my pieces on that I'm going to add to the garland, of course, and then I'll go ahead on this side, and same thing, I like to do exact measurements so my loops are same side, 9 inches for me, and then, of course, tying the knot around the excess pom-pom. There's a little bit more pom-pom trim there. I'll cut off the excess. And then I'd like to make sure my loops are exactly same size so I have, even amount of rope or whatever. And now I'm just kind of sliding things apart here, kind of getting stuff that's going to go on the right and stuff that's going to go on the left so that I can take my whole garland and fold it in half and find my center, and then I'll use a little clip here and I'll mark that. And then that's where I'll know my center part of my garland here, which is one of my beige light bulbs here. That, will help me to center and mark all the rest of my pieces. Now, since this is wire, now we can just kind of squish it, and you can use some pliers and twist it so it's nice and tight onto our twine or rope, and then make sure your light bulb, of course, turns face up when you're done twisting. All right, now I'm going to start spacing everything apart. We're just going to work on the right side today, and then I'll do the left side off camera because it's the same process, but just kind of straightening things out, getting them kind of into position where I think I want it, and then I'll measure here. Now, before I start twisting all the rest of this stuff, I want my rope and my pom-pom to stay together, so I'm just clipping it so it stays together in place nice and tight while I twist everything. And I'm about 3 inches apart between each piece. And then I'll just start, again, twisting everything on here. I kind of like the wire here. A lot of times I'll put it on string or twine to hang them down, but the wire is so much easier to get it nice and tight against the rope, and it adds that primitive rusticness to it. I might have to wire from now on when I hang stuff off. And the stars were really easy because they already had, the long wires on there, and so I was just able to sit and turn the star and twist it up against the twine so it was nice and tight and doesn't move along our, main part of our garland. So this is done. All right, and I'll do the same thing like I said earlier on the left side. All right, now we're coming back. Everything is in place here. We're going to work on our little cinnamon sticks. I think it's so super cute as it is. You could just leave it like this, add a little bit of fabric, but I've been wanting to add some, little cinnamon sticks like I said. Mine were long ones, so I just broke them in half. I'm going to put a little glue on the back side, and I'm taking my red and white twine. I probably got like 16 inches for each one, and I'm going to wrap it just kind of around that glue in the center about 3 times, and then I'll just tie a little half knot on the back where that glue is, of course, to keep it in place. And then I'm going to just kind of put it in between, right in front of each light bulb is where these are going to end up. And I'm going to put it on the garland, and I'm going to take the bottom string upward around the back of the garland and the top string downward around the back of the garland and wrap it around the garland and the cinnamon stick, doing a little half knot here. And then I believe I add a little bit of glue, and then I'll tie a little bow just like that. And then I'll, cut my tails as long or as short as I want them. And then I'll just kind of do one more here. I've wrapped it around 3 times, again around the garland like I explained, add a little glue, tie a bow, done. And so then I'll finish these all across, and I believe I only did 6 of them. So right in front of, or maybe I did 7 in front of each light bulb. And here's my little strips. I'm going to place these in front of every star. And they're like 6 inches long, maybe 1 inch wide little strips. Normally I like to add 2 or 3 different kinds of ribbon and this and that, but I really didn't want it heavy with a lot of ribbon because I wanted the hot chili peppers, light bulbs and stars and cinnamon sticks to show up, you know, and to be kind of center stage. Once I get the ribbons on, that makes this project complete. We'll take a look at the results at the end of the video. Let's move on to our last project, number 3. For this project, I already have them cut out. I've got 3 little mini stockings here. All right, here's your pattern piece. I crack up because it's freaking hilarious. This is it. They're so tiny. They're about as big as the palm of my hand. Again, this will be on the same pattern as the light bulbs, but there you go. I drew it special just for you. They're just tiny and crack me up. Anywho, so I've got 2 pieces for the little cuff and then 2 pieces for the main stocking part. So obviously you're going to place the cuff on each side, and if you're a gluer, you can glue that little cuff on each side. Again, fabric glue or hot glue for any of these projects, and then you'll place it together and glue right near the edge, leaving the top open for stuffing and the hook to hang it with. If you don't want to stuff it, that's fine, but you have to leave it open for the hook. Now for sewing, I've sewed the cuffs on already. Now I know when I go around the stocking, I'm going to have to go back over where I sewed on the cuff, leaving that top open for stuffing. But if I sewed it all together and then went across the bottom of the cuff, it'd sew my stocking closed, and then I couldn't stuff it. But that's okay if you don't want to stuff it. But if you want to stuff it, you got to sew the cuff on first, and then you'll end up sewing over the sides of the cuffs again when you sew the stocking together, if all that gibberish was understandable. So I've got all of them done. Well, no, one done right now. I'll do the rest later. And now you're going to stuff your stocking here. All the way to the top, just like we did on our light bulbs. And then another piece of wire about as big as what we did on our light bulbs, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to cross it over, make a loop at the top, twist the bottom, and then add some glue and put your hanger into your stocking, making sure that your loop is to the side. All right? And then just glue your top closed. All right, just like that. I'll finish the other 2 off camera, but we're not done with this one quite yet. We got to add a little bit more twine bow with that red and cream twine, and then a little button in the center. Still not done with these, but we'll get to it. And now I've got all 3 done, and I've got 1 that's facing to the left and 2 facing to the right because I wanted them a couple to hang a little differently. Now we're going to finish it up with our little spray adhesive and our cinnamon, salt, and glitter mixture, and add a little kind of rustic primitive to it. And this container, you can use any kind of container you want. I picked this up at a thrift store. It was like $3. I can tell it's pretty old vintage, probably from the 80s. And I'm going to use this funny looking tree from Hobby Lobby. I know you're like, what the heck is that? A lot of times I buy trees, especially when they're half off, to use the greenery, but I saved the stem part, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to use these that you can get at Hobby Lobby. They come in either stick or they come like wound up like this. Now, if you want to use a Dollar Tree Christmas tree, that's feasible too. You're going to have to clip off some of the branches, but I'll show you what we're going to do with that. Or you could use like a dowel, and you can use these, pieces from Dollar Tree and do it that way. So don't worry, I'll show you what to kind of do on that Dollar Tree Christmas tree. I'm going to come in now and take the rest of these little branches off, and I'll make sure I cut off any greenery or anything like that. If you look to the left there, that's what it looks like all done. I know it looks funny, but it's going to look cool when we're done. So now I've got my sticks here. They're probably 12 inches long, I'm going to guess. I'm going to take 2 per branch, so I'm going to need 8 of these. So when we're done, we have 4 branches, and I'm just going to twist these together. Again, you can buy the one that's on the roll if you're at Hobby Lobby, but it is a little bit different color, so I went with the sticks because it's a little bit darker green. All right, and so here I'm just continuing on, getting my last stick done. You could use a single stick. I just wanted my branches to look a little bit thicker. That's the only reason I did 2. And we're going to lay them across our thingy. Have you guys seen this? It's been like all over Pinterest, and I thought, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to make one. So this is sort of what it's going to look like. And then of course we'll cut it into a tree shape. Now let me show you what to do if you want to use the Dollar Tree Christmas tree. You're going to probably have to move branches out of the way and find 2 that are close to each other, same length. And then what I'm going to do is, this on this side and this, I'm going to cross 2 of the branches over, and then I'm going to twist them. All right, so 2 branches on either side, you'll cross one over, twist them like that, so then you have a branch going all the way across. Is that understandable? And you'll do this all the way up. Of course, Dollar Tree already has them in the Christmas tree shape, so that'll be nice. And in any of the branches you didn't use, you're going to need to cut them off. So that's the way to do it. Now, if you just use a dowel and sticks like I'm doing it, it's going to look like my process here. So what I've got is one of the sticks behind the tree branch, and then I'm placed one in front of the tree branch, both together. And what you're going to do is see on this right side, I put a branch forward and twisted it over the other one. This is the reason to do that. And then you're going to take on the left side and back and twist over the other one. And you could do either one, like the right side can go back and the left side. Just make sure you do twist each side in an opposite direction, and there's a reason for it. So hopefully that's understandable. And then once I get it twisted on there, I kind of pushed it down. I'm going to add a little bit of glue here and then push the, center back up over the glue. It's still not going to be tight enough. All right, so let's do it again. One in back, one in front. Together, you're going to take one side, you're going to twist it one direction. Probably explaining it a lot better this time. And then the other side, you're going to twist the other direction. All right, and you're going to do this. I'm going to pull it down, add a little glue, and then I'm going to push that center back up over the glue. Again, it's still going to be quite tight, but we got a little glue in there. And then I'm going to do this 2 more times. Okay, now probably add this one and the next one up. I probably could have just used half of a branch, but this just makes it easier for me for visually to see what I want when I go to adjust, the top 2 branches. So I'm just using full sticks all the way across. All right, getting this left side done. And yes, I will add something on the top because I think it needs something. Adding the little bit of glue for that top branch, sliding it up. And we're going to let that sit a little bit. We're going to go to some bells. I want to add some bells. You could add bells, stars, nothing. Maybe you just want stockings. And I'm just placing about 5-inch piece of wire through the top loop of the bell and then twisting the short wire that went through the loop over the long wire remaining to tighten the bell onto that wire and then just make a little loop at the top. I do that for 4 bells. I don't want that many bells, just a few. All right. So here I want something at the top. I've got a stiff piece of wire, probably about 4 inches. It came out of the tree when I was pulling the rest of the branches out. If you use like a dowel or something, you could, drill a tiny hole to put the wire in. If you're using the Walmart Christmas tree, it will already have a piece at the top. So I just glued that piece of wire in, and then taking 2 short sticks here, I'll add more glue to the wire, start with the twist, bottom of the wire, and then start twisting it around the wire. All right, understandable, probably easier to watch, but that way I kind of get the same look as my branches, and I have that cute little one just poking up at the top. It looked better than just that cut top area. I don't know. You don't have to have it. I wanted it there. All right, so here's what it looked like. So now we need to continue to tighten our branches. See, they're still loose. So I'm taking my pliers right on the right side, right next to the trunk, and I'm going to twist my branch in the direction that I twisted them together. All right, and then on the left side, I'm twisting it in the direction that I twisted it together. This side, I'm on the right, I'm twisting it back because that's the direction I did. And on the left side, I will, once I turn it around, and I would twist it forward. And then when we're done, I'll show you here. So you're twisting it so that that center little opening around the tree trunk is really tight. See how tight that is? That's why I had you twist the branches in opposite directions. You can get a really nice, tight grip against that tree trunk. And now what I want to do is I'm just trimming my branches into a tree shape. So let me measure here. So I've got it 4.5 inches on that bottom. So I'm going to measure here on the other side, 4.5 inches, really only taking off just a, little 1/2 inch here. And then the next branch up, I believe I go about a 1/2 inch every time. Now I'm going to go to 4 inches and I'll trim that off. Measure on this side, make sure I'm at 4 inches so I know where to cut. And of course, the next branch up, I'll go to 3.5 inches, right and left side. And in that very top one, I bet you it's going to be about 3 inches. Yep, 1/2 inch each way. And you can do them as, long or as short as you want. But giving us the tree shape, again, leaving the top, I'm not going to touch that one. It's right where I want it. All right. So here's what we've got so far. All right, now I want to cover up all these areas where greeneries come out because I, cut it and using an old tree. So I'm using spray adhesive. I'm using our cinnamon salt glitter mixture, and I'm spraying the front, the whole thing, shaking on the glitter. or cinnamon, I guess we should say. I'll do the back side. If you're using a dowel, just, put on as much as you want. If you want anything, you might not want to do that, but I think this kind of brings in that, primitive look, right? So when I'm even using stuff that's, down on the bottom, I'll pick it up and add that as well. And then I'm going to even go across just a little bit at the branches, so it doesn't just look like cinnamon down the middle. I want the branches to be included in, right? And I even got a little bit of like allspice here. I'll even shake that on because it's a little bit darker in color. And just sprinkle on as much as you want using the spray adhesive. It hides any, yucky spots, and then this is what it looks like, nice and primitive, and plus it'll go in with our little cinnamon mixture on our stocking. Now I'm going to use some quick hole glue. This fits nice and tight, but I'm still going to glue it down in the container. And then I'm going to use some of this Excelsior. I get it at Hobby Lobby. They have some that's really wide Excelsior. This is the thinner, and I'm just going to plop it in around the tree, of course, around that into the container, and let a lot of it stick out to give it a kind of a rustic look. And now I want a bow. You can use regular ribbon. I've got 2 strips of muslin here and a strip of batting down the center. I'm going to sew around it. If you're a gluer and want to do this, you can glue it together. Here's sewn. Look at that. Miraculous of video editing and tied into a bow. And the fabric was probably about 1.5 inches wide, about 36 inches long. Now I'm going to go ahead and hang my stockings where I want to hang them. Cute. I'm going to tighten my bells where I want to hang them over the branches. I love how this turned out. So super cute. And my stockings on this look like stockings. Unlike the light bulbs, look like jalapeno pepper. Get off of that already, huh? Right, doing the last little bit. And now I'm taking a wooden candy cane, and it's a great big rusty safety pin. I know it's quite big, but don't worry, we'll blend it in a minute. Taking a little bit of our ink and inking it up, and then I'll finish it off how we're going to blend that safety pin in with a little bit of adhesive and our cinnamon, salt, glitter mixture, and that way it'll go in with the tree and the stockings as well. Then I'll go ahead and glue this bow right at the bottom of the twine bow that's already there in that little burlap, tree skirt. I did forget to mention, if you're using the Dollar Tree, if your container is big enough, you can use the stand that goes with the Dollar Tree. But if you have a smaller opening on a container, or you're doing a dowel and making your own tree with the branches, you may want to do something like Hobby Lobby has here. And I would maybe do a little ball of cotton at the bottom and then tie like fabric or burlap up over that, a little, twine bow on it like this. So it'll help kind of fit in your container a little bit better, right? With that said, that makes this project complete. So I hope you enjoyed all of these primitive rustic projects today. We took one quilt and we were able to use them on all 3 projects. One project had a lot, the other had a smidgen, and the other had a smidgen less. You could use regular fabric if you didn't have, an old quilt to cut up or something like that. This was, factory made, so I didn't care about cutting it up or anything like that. But like I said, the colors were just right up my alley, so I chose to use it. But you could totally use whatever just regular fabrics you want to create any of these projects. Leave me a comment down below and let me know which project was your favorite. Please give this video a thumbs up. And if you walked in here for the first time, you're just checking things out, or maybe you came over from Tracy's channel, welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoyed what you saw today. Before you click off, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on another project from me. Thank you again, Tracy, for collaborating with me. Everybody, make sure check my description box. I'll also have it pinned in my comments, the link to her video where you can go check it out and see what Christmas inspiration that she came up with for you today. I'm sure you will not be disappointed. Now, before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. God wants you to realize that He understands and knows everything that you are facing. He hears you and He cares for you. Do not think that you walk this road alone. Do not be shaken, and allow His strength to be your refuge. In the Bible, the book of Psalms, chapter 59, verse 9, it says, O God, my strength, I will watch for you. For God is my stronghold, my refuge, my protector, my high tower. If you're feeling his quietness during your trial, it doesn't mean that he isn't listening, and I want you to know it doesn't mean that he doesn't care. It can be hard to cultivate the silence of him when things feel heavy, but you must absolutely believe that he is with you. He simply may be working a few things out on your behalf, and that can take some time. So don't stop believing or trusting in him. Don't walk away from him, and don't ever give up hope. In the Bible, the book of Psalms, chapter 16, verse 8, it says, I have set the Lord continually before me. Because he is at my right hand, I will not be shaken. Know without a doubt, with all your heart and soul, that he has a way for you. He has new life for you. He has healing for you. Stay on the path that he has laid out for you. If you reached a locked gate, he'll give you the keys to unlock it. And when the gates swing open wide, focus your eyes on the new path that he has laid before you. It will be inlaid with gold, reflecting his presence. As you walk along the path with him, he will stay beside you. Open your heart through faith to hear the plans he has for you and hear his voice saying how much he loves you. He chose you. He called you by name. So rise up, stand strong in your faith, and know that God has your victory. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.